Jane, what was the message Santino had for you?
Now, I found watching the movie, obviously it's got, you know, it evokes other exorcism films because there are a handful of very memorable exorcism films. But I also found it was a lot more visceral in its confrontations. I mean, you guys look like you were really put through the ringer physically.
Yeah.
Was that the case? I mean, was it quite intense on you physically?
The exorcism scene was out of control. I mean,
Yeah.
it was literally, and it was interesting when Scott described it in pre-production. He said, "We're not filming an exorcism scene. We're filming an exorcism action sequence," which was a really, really good description. So we all had our seatbelts on that week. It was pretty intense and insane, but the rest of it was actually pretty good. It was actually a lot of fun. But we knew we were up for it, in for it in that week for sure.
When did that week come in terms of
the last
whole
days?
wow.
Last days of the film. So it was right at the end when everyone was ready to fall over. I think that was part of the genius behind it. And we shot literally until the union came and turned the power off and said, "Guys, enough."
Yeah.
I think we did a 23-hour day or something, and they come and pulled the plug and said, "You're done."
Were you impressed? I mean, watching back once you saw the final cut, is that how you saw it going down in your head as you were filming?
Kind of. I was a really big fan of Scott's previous work, The Exorcism of Emily Rose and Sinister, and he can do an amazing amount with very little, and sound design is a huge component of his films, and he's a student of horror. He knows everything about it. He's, you know, realises that they have the potential over the course of time to be really a high art form of cinema, not just slasher horror kind of genre. So I knew that he was going for something different, and we were all a part of that. So to see the finished product was fantastic. You know, it's just bringing all those elements together, and I jumped a few times and knew exactly what was going to happen, but still embarrassingly jumped like everybody else, unfortunately.
No, that's the sign of a good horror film. I suppose that leads me to my last question. I mean, what in your mind are the ingredients of a good horror film these days?
Well, I'm a bit more old school. I like them when they're eerie. I mean, it's fun to get a jump scare, and obviously we have plenty of them in this film, but my favourite movies of that genre have always been the ones that are just eerie in nature, like The Shining or Misery, even Blair Witch Project to some extent. It's not a lot of really scary stuff that happens in that film, but it's just got this sense of foreboding and eeriness, and they're the ones that I like the most.